Hey guys, Seat the Geek here. Uh, Somber mood after playing in Boardlandia's planetary qualifier yesterday. I'm here on Sabine Yellow. 6 rounds, 2-4 record. Pretty bad. Um, Unironically, I think I was the highest 2-4 record at uh 790. I think that's 7 points or 7 game wins, I believe. No, it can't be 7 game wins, but I think it's 7 points. I forget how this is broken down. Missed top 32 by 2 places, but everyone else who was higher than me was 3-3. Try to get that third win to get into this bracket, but I just could not do it. Congrats to the winner, who was also playing Sabine Energy Lab. And also, I want to give a shout out to Rebel Resource for being pretty cool. The only other Sabine Yellow in the tournament who chatted with me very briefly while I was there. But I also want to give him a shout out. Actually got to meet him in person for the first time since he's always on Sabine Yellow. Here's my deck list that I played in the event. You see, it's definitely a bit of a contrast from the first build that I posted on my channel. I think I did in the previous video for my first build that I played in the 1K at Games Universe in Brookfield. That was 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. Definitely made some changes to the build, but I wanted to stay on yellow just to try it. Everyone's on Sabine green, so I didn't want to play that. Yeah, won my first 2 rounds pretty solidly, and then it kind of just went downhill from there. I have my actual matches here recorded. Ignore my Xbox, it always does that. Round 1, I played Kira Green on Data Vault. It's one of the guys who lives locally who I always play against in every single event. Really cool guy. I won that one 2-1. We had a very close game 3, but I was able to get it, luckily. Round 2, I played Hantu, who was Young Han, a lot of people call him, was playing ECL. This is a guy who I played Pokemon with in the past, also another cool guy who lives locally who I played against before. I won that one 2-0, but I think he was still new to the deck, but was playing it anyway. And then the drop off a cliff, round 3, 0-2 against Han 1 green, Yellow Han, from set 1. I believe this was the Denver champion, I believe. He had the champion playmat plus the initiative counter. I got destroyed by him. Wasn't even a close game. I just straight lost. Round 4 was Gar Yellow, 1-2 loss. Round 5, another Hantu Green, 1-2 loss. And then finally, round 6, 1-2 loss to Sabine Green. You're definitely noticing a pattern. There's definitely a pattern there, and it's the pattern that I mentioned in the last video from my first iteration of the build, that this deck is just insanely strong. Game 1, it's very hard to 2-0 this deck. Even in the last event, I never got 2-0'd, and in this tournament, the only 0-2 I got was from set 1 Han on green, but it was, another literal champion who I was playing against. So I was expected to lose that game, and I did. But what this is about the deck is that this deck is, there's something here, and the deck is insanely strong, especially game 1. I didn't lose a game 1 in the 1K, and I didn't lose a game 1 except to Han 2 at this event. So that the deck has a very strong surprise factor, and it can just win games out of nowhere. Very easily, in fact. Unfortunately, my build did not have the conversion rate on wins to make it to that top 8 spot, which is what I was shooting for. Maybe next time, alas. Um, the one thing Borlandia for hosting the event. Even if I don't make it down there very often because it's 2 hours away. It's a very long 2 hour drive, but I did it. I do think there's something there. I have the text file from my deck here. The sideboard, which is not listed on the image, was 3 Spec Force, 3 Spare the Target, 3 Open Fire, and then 1 Waylay. For those of you that want to know. I do think that there's potential for this build in the future before rotation and we lose Sabine. I also think there's some pretty good yellow stuff in the next set coming up that also might change things. Yellow is getting its own timely intervention with like upside. Pretty insane card. You can't smuggle it, but it's still really good 1-cost event for Yellow Sabine that gives us ambush on anything. If you want to play one more for it, so that's super strong. That's something that Yellow should have had for a while now, but now we're finally actually getting it. There's still more to be revealed from the set, so we'll probably get some more insane stuff coming out. But yeah, the deck definitely has potential within the next 2 or 3 sets before rotation actually kicks in, because I don't know how soon after that 3rd set comes out rotation will actually begin. But I still felt comfortable with the build, but there are definitely some key sticking points that I noticed throughout playing the day that the deck really suffers from after refining my build. I do think this build is better than the build that I played last time by a lot, but there are still issues with this build and even with Sabine on yellow in general that hopefully the next couple of sets can fix. That I'll mention. But before I get into that, some of the things that most Sabine decks were playing that I'm not playing is that I took out the red 3s, the 2/3 that gives all your heroic units raid 1. There's a lot of love-hate relationship with that card in particular. It's a super strong card. It is unique, so you can only have one out. The problem is 3-cost 2/3 is just too weak stat-wise. Yes, it can swing for 3 by itself, and it's boosting your other cards, which is a good ability, a good effect to have. But it dies so easily. Even an opposing A-Wing, this card can just trade into it from the opponent and live. It's usually a main target. It always gets killed off, always gets picked off. Its stats are just too low. Even with pilots, to put a pilot just to buff it is almost not worth it, knowing that it dies so easily. I actually cut it. I didn't miss the card, so it was a good decision on my part. But I think that for Yellow Sabine, there isn't enough room in the deck to play that card. Something needed to get cut, and it was that card. I think even though playing the 1-cost, it might have been a good idea to play the red 3, but at the same time, it's like the card is so weak, I just had to cut it for other things. The other issue, the main issue, is that there's really not enough good 2-drops for Sabine on yellow to actually play. Sabine green has the Phoenix Squadron A-Wing, which is the green one, that's a 3/2. And then it also has Battlefield Marine, which is the 2/3/3 vanilla. Those 2 cards by themselves, you know they're actually both vanillas, are super strong cards, which is why Sabine Green is playing them. And they just trade too efficiently into anything Sabine Yellow can play. That's a 2-cost. I went through the whole list of 2-costs that are rebels that Sabine Yellow could play, and there really aren't that many that are actually decent. One was Rebel Pathfinder, who's just the 2/3 with Saboteur. And then another is Jyn Ursa, which I didn't play because it gets traded by the X-23 or land speeder. That was another card I was worried about, so I was trying to play 2/3s. But then it's Leia Organa is just a 2/2. Yes, you can exhaust exhaust a unit, or ready or exhaust a unit, or ready or exhaust a resource. Um, well, no, she can't ready a unit. I mean, she'd probably actually be better if she could ready a unit. It'd actually make her a good card. But yeah, and she's only a 2/2, so she gets traded into by everything. She's a rebel, but like she's not a very good one, unfortunately. So our 2-drop spot is really bad. Yellow doesn't have a high stated vanilla, unironically. It has a vanilla X-wing in yellow. It's not a rebel though, and it's not heroic. But like yellow doesn't have that overstated card, I believe, at all, that I could find. Definitely not in rebel, with the rebel trait. Green does. Green has 2 of them now. No, low key power creep made Sabine Green a lot better. And I did play one in the PQ and I lost. I lost one too. Because their 2-drop is just their 2 sets of 2-drops are just more efficient than mine and can trade into mine without dying, which really sucks. Especially if they go first, and there's just nothing I can do about it. So yellow definitely needs better 2-drops. 3-drops are the same split between green Sabine and yellow Sabine. But I think yellow Sabine has to play a little bit differently than the green one does, without, with the lack of ambush support and stuff like that. I have to play cards like Red 5. We have to play these 3/4s on 3. I also have Millennium Falcon, but it's not a rebel. And Red 5. So that way they can trade into other 3 power units that are on turn 2 or turn 3, actually defeat them and still live, is like the best play that we have, unfortunately. A lot of what I was doing in the PQ on 3 was just playing Red 5 and then putting R2-D2 on it, the pilot one, to just buff it ever so slightly, to make it a 4/5. So now it can trade into an opposing Red 5 or Millennium Falcon, any of them, before they get buffed, and kill them and then live. And that's like the best play you really have. But it takes potentially 2 actions, because you have to put the R2-D2 on it and then actually swing with it. So it's slow, and it's only 2 actions, but it's slow enough to make it not an optimal play. But sometimes when you go first, you get the chance to do it, and then it's a pretty decent play. Also, this card's inherently good against young Han 2, since he has to ping his guys to drop them. So Red 5 is always a target or a threat for them, because it's just going to pick off their units that they try to low curve in the play. And most of them are going to only have 4 health, so they die with 1 swing of the Red 5. That's another reason that I was playing that. I dropped the Plo Koons for Han Pilot. Him being a 4/5 ambusher on the ground is actually decent, so he can do double duty for the deck. So I felt he was just inherently better than the Plo Koon, who needs coordinate to trigger. He has ambush, and he's a 3/6, a 6/6 when he gets to attack. It's too conditional for yellow Sabine, who's half a step slower, where our units will get picked off a lot, and then Plo Koon just can't trigger. So I hate the cards that are so conditional like that. So I switched to the Han Pilot, who also works with all of our vehicles that we play, to buff them, get them to swing, and also obviously the combo with Millennium Falcon. His stats are lower than Plo Koon, but he can still ambush for enough to potentially trade with something and kill it and then live, which still makes him a pretty strong card. And he's actually a rebel. So in some super rare cases, you can wing leader him and fleet lieutenant him after he gets dropped. So he's just a strong card for that purpose. So I'm playing 3 of him. The highest cost deck the highest cost card in the deck is him, as it's 5. Yellow tops out at 5 because we don't have ECL, so we can't reliably play like stuff like Wrecker. Like we can play Wrecker, but like you can't ambush it in, so it's just not very good. Next set you actually can ambush Wrecker, but he's gonna cost 7, so I'm not sure if that's super relevant. No Poe Damerons. My last build didn't have Poe Dameron either. Yellow Sabine can't really afford to play Poe Dameron with no ambush. Is still a very good card, very high stated card, but it's a little bit too slow with no ambush support. Next set's more of a possibility. And then I think that's it for all the differences. K2SO also is not as good in the yellow version with no ambush, so I dropped him a copy. Added the Curas just for some type of mid-rangey control effect to have, because my deck has very obvious glaring weaknesses. Rebel Pathfinder is actually a very decent backup secondary Sabine Wren, who is unique, so we only have one of them out, because he can swing into the L3s and Crafty Smugglers and Krennics and kill them, because he's a 2/3 with Saboteur, so he'll pop the shield and kill the unit and live with 1 HP. So he's actually kind of a scary card because of that, so he's actually decent. So this card may make its way back into the deck, even as a 3-of, because it's another Sabine Wren unit who people consider is like one of the best 2-drop units right now, because of the damage ping, the secondary effect that it might not be able to be attacked, which is actually really hard in this deck because our only other yellow unit is a higher cost, which is this, and this. So she's always free to get attacked because of that, unlike in the green version where they can have Battlefield her, and then on the 4 turn, if she lives through the 3 turn, a Battlefield Marine, and then like an A-Wing. I don't think it has to be in the same arena, then she just can't be attacked. So that's why she's so... A bonus effect of her that people forget about, but it makes her inherently strong and a good card because of it. Other than that, not too much to say about the deck. I hit all the expected matchups I was expecting to. I didn't hit Vader Yellow, but I would have gotten destroyed by that regardless. As for the changes I would make to the deck, I think Leia has to go. I forgot she's a yellow unit, but Leia has to go. She's just not good enough right now in the format. And honestly, the same thing with Bamboozle. People are really spamming the pilots a lot, specifically Poe Dameron, who's the 4 cost who can jump into an X-wing or another card. You don't want to bamboozle him because he'll go back to hand and they can play him again and they get to keep the X-wing for free. So that's really bad, and it feels bad. And even then, it's kind of not that good against Blue Leader, because usually he is living regardless. It just takes the 2 experience off of him. I still think it's a decent card, but it's losing its luster a lot thanks to the pilot spam now, because we have like +1 pilots that have an ability on played, so bouncing it back to the hand does nothing good. And you also have pilots like Chewie who are unaffected, essentially. So it's really kind of a feels bad to play this card. So I feel like that card would also need to go at some point. A Confiscate is probably just better than Bamboozle now. And then we need a better 2-drop, so we don't have to play Vanilla X-Wing as like the next best heroic rebel unit to play as a 2-drop. So we have more 2-drops to play, because our 2-drops are also like, the deck is very 3 heavy, and that kind of sucks. We need more 2-drops like the Green Sabine has to be able to keep up, and they need to be high statted and rebels. But other than that, everything else does what it's supposed to and is fine as is. There's just a lot of there just isn't enough units in yellow for Sabine to play to make her as strong as green Sabine. Um, those are too many awkward plays you have to make in certain matchups to just have a chance at winning. Which one of the ones that Rebel Resource talked to me about is Darksaber that I wasn't playing. Darksabering and just dropping it on Sabine Wren, the leader. Some cases the unit, if you don't have a choice, is like one of the better plays you can make since they can't really out the leader as easily. And a 6/8 Sabine is very threatening, but it sucks that for Yellow Sabine, that's your main gameplay strategy in some matchups where you're favored to lose is just to Voltron the leader and then just swing in the base and hope that she lives long enough to actually kill them. That's like your best bet, and it's a shame, but that is your best bet in a lot of cases. So that's probably a card that I would add in is the one or the two Darksabers for that. I don't know if it would help me out in any of the games that I played necessarily. It might have made them at least a little bit closer with a buffed up leader that couldn't get killed right away. Because I didn't have a lot of opportunities to even wing leader Sabine Wren, my leader, because the opportunity never presented itself. But being able to Darksaber her would have been good. You know, a lot of people are running, bamboozles and confiscates. The Darksaber is still just one of those things where it's like, well, if they have it, but you have to try for it anyway, just to try to get that damage in. Because your damage output is just a little bit slower. That's just something I would look at for the future and make a change. Probably even for the store championships, but I don't know if I care enough about the store championships to even try to get that card for this deck. I think I might just wait on that till the next PQ in my area nearby rolls around, then I might give that a shot. But that is the bulk of how I feel about Sabine in the City 2. So there'll likely be a 3.0, another revision at some point in the future. I'm definitely enjoying my time off from Star Wars for right now to the Store Championships. And until the next set comes out as well for the pre-release for that. I did want to see if I could look at if it's actually listed. Rebel Resources Bill, since he was playing on yellow. Because he went 4-1-2, I think. Yeah, he made the top 8. He got 6th place. He lost in top 8. As I see his deck list. R2. Because I didn't know what he was playing for the event, but it looks like a lot of the stuff. A lot of similar. It's like, is this sneak attack? Yeah, this is the black one. Oh no, he's playing that one. I thought it was the other one. Okay, but he's playing the sneak attack. So he's doing the black one thing. That's the card. Another card I thought about playing. He's playing the turncoats. Green Squadron, yeah. So our builds are similar, but there are some differences. He's playing the Valiant Assault Ship. Yeah, that's another one that's potentially playable. But now you see with his build, he's playing a lot of non-rebels, like the Cartel Turncoat, which I really don't like, but he's playing it. He's not going for the lot of 1-drops. He's only playing this. Black one's not a rebel. Valiant Assault Ship is not a rebel. He is playing the Alliance X-Wing, the vanilla. You kind of have to just for the 2 costs. Coordinated Front. Which one is that? Okay. 2/2 and 2/2. Okay. That's the 2 cost, 2 buffs. This is an interesting card to play. This would be the next thing to a Rebel Assault, but doesn't let your guy attack, but it's a bigger boost. He's only playing it as a 1-of, so I don't know how often he actually got a chance to even play that, if it mattered. Heroic Resolve, which is the 1 cost upgrade boost. He's playing this. I thought about playing this. The interesting thing about this, it can go on vehicles. It doesn't have the no vehicle restriction. So it lets you get a big boost, but it has to pop itself. You have to pay 1 to equip it and 2 to pop it off the guy for a 4+0 overwhelm attack. Um, this might be relevant. This might be worth playing. It is a card I thought about and looked at. He is playing the Dark Sabers because he told me about it. The gunship is in his sideboard. This is the card that Yellow Sabine played last format. Just because you need ambushers. I didn't want to play because it's a 4 cost and it's understated as a 4 cost. It's not a rebel. There's a lot of downsides to it, but it's like you just need ambushers. It's the only thing fighter, heroic sacrifice, jam communications. He's playing jam communications. Yeah, you can play this for a little bit of control. It's probably just as a different Spark of Rebellion. But this only hits events, so to me it didn't seem like it was super worth it, but it's one of those things where it could be decent. Other than that, our builds are similar on yellow, but our options are so limited that they're going to be similar on yellow. I'm curious as to what he was sneak attacking for, other than maybe just to play another unit for really cheap, like the assault ship. Because I didn't play a lot of matches where my opponent ramped higher than me. But it has Saboteur. I guess this gives you a space unit that can attack past Bright Hope. And it'd be a 5 attacker. But I don't know about that one, but he did better than I did, and he's been on this deck longer than I have, so I can't question his choices too much. But our builds were very similar, because I was curious if our builds would kind of line up a little bit, and they do in certain spots, but obviously his side deck is way different than mine. And some of the main deck stuff did deviate, but there's still a lot of similarities. Like the 2 bamboozles now, I think, is across the board because it just isn't as strong of a card as it used to be. He's still playing the Plo Koons with the Han. I really don't like Cartel Turncoat, but maybe you have to play this. It might be necessary, even though you're giving your opponent a draw, which just seems really, really bad. Coordinated Front, I'm not sure about either, but that might be a good card. Heroic Resolve, I think, will have to go in, and I think the Darksabers have to go in now for Yellow Sabine. I think she has to play this moving forward, and probably this too. Oh yeah, we can see what he played. He played Cad Bane on red. He played a Palpatine blue. And he 2-0'd a lot of his matches. He only lost a game to a guy playing Vader yellow, which is understandable. And then he drew his last 2 rounds because he had his winning in at 4 wins, which is what you can do in 6 rounds. And then, like one of his games in his top 8, he won 2-1, but his deck wasn't listed. Okay. So yeah, definitely give a shout out to Rebel Resource. He's the blonde Sabine guy. I may make those changes in the future and just try them. The resistance units I'm iffy about, but I can see why you would play them because they're bigger boosts. I feel like you'd almost want to play BB-8 to try to get the untap option on them, but that's kind of hard to do. It'd be another fill spot. Also, he's off the 1 cost ground units. He's only playing the 1 cost air unit. He's playing Cartel Turncoat because it's just your 2 damage straight up. But I did also notice he also wasn't playing red 3s, which is something that I just was off because like this card just isn't that good anymore. So, minds thinking alike in a lot of the deck building procedures. He also, I believe, has a team or playtest group that he plays with. So to figure that stuff out, I had to do it on my own and sort of kind of same to the same conclusions. So it might be worth taking a look at his other build to try to refix this and see what I can do moving in the future. But just rambling now. Didn't want to make this video super long. I don't know when the next big event is that I will go to with Yellow Sabine. Um, I'm not going to the PQ in Minnesota. I'm not driving 6 hours. 2 hours is more than long enough for me. Um, I'm not sure if there's also going to be any more in Illinois for the rest of this year. Um, Now that Pastimes is doing regionals, unless a new store does regionals that's closer, that'd be the only other store I'm going to in the near future, which unfortunately it might not be till next year. Because every other place is just way too far. As much as I like Borderlandia, great store, great people running the event, it's a super long drive for me, and I don't really want to make that drive again. But who knows? We'll see. Things could change in the future, but I don't see myself doing it. Definitely not. Probably not this year. Definitely not again. But yeah, that's my build. That's my list. Comment, like, and subscribe. I appreciate all the support. Until the next video, I'll see you all next time. Thank you.